Welcome everyone to the Three Signs. It's time for a spiritual upgrade workshop. I'm Christian of Standing Stones Healing, and I'm so honored to have you here. If you are watching the recording on this workshop, I'm so honored to have you watch the recording. So thank you all so very much. So, Three Signs, it's time for a spiritual upgrade. This is how the workshop is going to work. I am going to tell you a little bit about myself. I'll tell you about a time in my life when I had a big spiritual upgrade. I'll talk with you about what my definition of a spiritual upgrade is. I'll share with you three signs that it is time for a spiritual upgrade. And I'll share with you some things to do about that as well. So thank you all so very much. Now, as you may already know, at Standing Stones Healing, I specialize in using Reiki, card reading, and coaching for life changes. I have a real passion for encouraging our journey during life changes, for helping us to use life changes as an opportunity to grow, heal, and even transform. You know, we often think of life changes as times of weakness, times of when we feel all out of sorts, we feel powerless. But actually, life changes really are times of power. And I am so passionate about helping us to claim that power and to use our life changes as opportunities for transformation. So thank you so much for being here. You know, there was a real time in my life when I had a spiritual upgrade, a time when I had a major life change, and a time when I had an experience of spiritual expansion. And that was back in 2008. And at this time, I was not in a good place. I had been in an abusive relationship for a couple of years. I was in a very toxic work environment, the kind of work environment in which you are physically ill thinking about going to work. That was my situation. And I also had a very close friendship. Actually, it was my best friendship of 10 years, more than 10 years, that was crumbling. And so this was a very difficult time for me. I was off track. I was not living my best life, not being my best self, and just had really gotten very much away from who I was at my core. The good news is that fortunately, all at once, I was able to leave that abusive relationship. Finally, I was able to finally leave it. I was fired from that toxic job, and my relationship with my best friend at the time crumbled. And when I say all at once, I mean all of that happened within 1 month. I mean, it was quite a time, and it left me very much feeling like I had hit a wall. I was emotionally spent. I was just had no idea where to turn, no idea how to handle all of the emotions that I was feeling. It was a very challenging time. And it is when we have these kinds of challenging times that we have the opportunity, indeed, we are growing and expanding, even when it might not seem like it. And so, through that experience, I was really called to grow, to heal, and to spiritually upgrade. So at that time, I decided through that awful experience of all of those things happening all at once that I needed to get myself back on track. And I had a lot of hard work ahead of me. I resolved to work on my relationships and have healthy relationships. I resolved to get back to myself and return to certain practices that had sustained me. And there were certain things that I did in order to put my life back together, certain transformative practices. Now, those transformative practices are now known as the 7-way path. So I developed those 7 transformative practices of the 7-way path after that massive life change, that just point of being emotionally spent, not knowing what came next, being unsettled, confused, directionless, and needing to put my life back together and slowly build back. So I used those 7 practices. I'll mention those a little bit later, but these are 7 things that I used to help me during that challenging time. So this was a point for me of a real spiritual upgrade, and it was a call to deepen my experience, to grow, and to heal. And so when I say spiritual upgrade, that's really what I mean. You know, this term spiritual upgrade, I'll be honest with you. It's not exactly the way that I think about it. So the workshop is called 3 Signs It's Time for a Spiritual Upgrade. Well, when we use that term spiritual upgrade, now I use it because, you're going to get it. Spiritual upgrade, oh, I get it, like upgrading software, that idea of spiritual awakening or ascension. Okay, upgrade, I get it. But to me, it's not so much an upgrade as it is an expansion and a deepening. And so it's not so much about going higher as it is about going deeper. I think the term spiritual upgrade seems to suggest, or this idea of awakening or ascension, it seems to suggest that when you spiritually deepen your experience, that somehow you are better than others, or somehow you are more evolved as a spiritual being. And I think there's a danger in that. I think there's a danger in thinking that we, in our growth and healing, are in some way, shape, or form better than others. And so even though I use the term spiritual upgrade because, yes, of course you'll get it, it's also not exactly it. And so I want to make sure to emphasize that we are all on our spiritual journey, and we are all at different places on that journey. And one place is not more evolved or higher or better than another place. And so I want to encourage all of us to honor where we are, to respect that, and to even praise just where we are, because indeed it is exactly where we need to be right now. So that's the idea of a spiritual upgrade. It's this idea of an expansion. It is an idea of going deeper. It is an idea of kind of like a flower opens up petal by petal. It's really that kind of idea. So not so much a getting higher as it is an opening, an unraveling, an unveiling, or even like the layers of an onion. An onion has many layers. And to me, that's really what spiritual expansion is all about. It's about peeling back those layers and going deeper and deeper within each of those layers. Now, also, when I talk about spiritual expansion or a deepening of our experience, to me, it centers on 3 things: awareness, meaning, and connection. And to me, these are at the heart of spiritual expansion, spiritual upgrading, spiritual awakening. That awareness, meaning, and connection are really what is at the core of a deepening of our spiritual experience. So when I say growth, healing, transformation, spiritual expansion, it's all about those three things. Deepening our awareness, increasing our capacity for awareness, experiencing deeper levels of meaning, creating deeper levels of meaning, because indeed meaning is individual and we create it, and connection, a connection to ourselves, to one another, and to all that is. So that is my definition of spiritual upgrade. Now, of course, this is subjective, meaning that it's my definition. You may conceptualize it in a different kind of way, and that is absolutely okay. This is not the only way to conceive of it. It's just the way that I think about it right now. Because, of course, just like with the opening of a flower, the peeling away of an onion, there are so many layers to explore. And I very well may change my ideas and definitions in the future as part of that unraveling, and that is all okay. You know, I once received a message many years ago from a tree. As a matter of fact, it was from a tree, and it was this beautiful phrase, cosmic revelation. And it was the idea that our experience, our life, this world is just a cosmic revelation, a constant unfolding and opening up, just like that flower. And so in this great cosmic revelation, you know, I'm open to the possibilities of what I might believe in the future, what I might experience, and how my ideas and conceptualizations may change. So this is my definition right now. So, all right, now, you're wondering, great, Christian, thanks for the story about your massive life change. Thanks for your definition and helping me to understand what you're talking about. Now let's go. How do I know that I'm spiritually upgrading? Well, there are multiple ways to know, but I'm going to share with you some really big ones. Now, when I also say 3 signs it's time for a spiritual upgrade, okay, here's the truth. I called it this because I wanted to create a nice, memorable title. 3 signs it's time for a spiritual upgrade. Now, that's much easier to say than, here are a few signs that indicate that you are indeed right now going through a spiritual expansion. Now, that's kind of a long title, so I shortened it, made it nice and easy, named 3 signs, although there are certainly more, and that it's time for a spiritual upgrade. But actually, these signs mean that you are right now going through a spiritual expansion. And so, yes, they can and do indicate that it is time for you to grow, expand, and heal and deepen your experience. And they also mean, indeed, you already are. So, sign number 1 that you are experiencing a spiritual expansion is if you are going through a life change. Now, remember, I'm passionate about life changes, and life changes are really just quite profound in terms of their power, in terms of their impact on us, even if they are small life changes. So when we think about life changes, we often think about big changes like the death of a loved one or a relocation. And life changes are also small things like a promotion or a change in your schedule. Those are smaller life changes that we don't often think about in terms of life change, but indeed they are. And so even small life changes can create all kinds of things for us, all kinds of shifts in our life, in our inner experience, and have ripple effects as well. So I want to encourage you, don't discount those smaller life changes, because indeed they are also very impactful. So if you are going through a life change, you indeed are right now spiritually expanding. You know, when we have a life change, things are shaken up in our lives. Our routine has changed. Maybe our environment has changed. Our experience has changed. Our inner feelings have changed. All of this experience in the outer world, in our outer environment and experience, has impacts internally. And so when we have a life change, it's not only on an external level, but also indeed on an internal level. And so during these times of life change, we're going to be experiencing not only external shifts, like with a relocation in which we're living in a new place, our home is different, maybe our job is different, our everything is different, the layout of our home, where we put things, which way we go to work, all of that is changed. And all of that creates internal shifts as well. And so it is that when we experience those life changes and we have those internal shifts, those are times of expansion, growing, and healing, and a deepening of our experience. Now, this is true even if this is a life change that is not so positive, that you don't feel so warm and fuzzy about. So, you know, a life change in which you are not happy about it, you didn't want it, and it was not a welcome change. We may think, okay, Christian, how am I growing and healing during this change that I didn't want, don't like, and wish had not happened? Yes, and any kind of a change is not only an opportunity for us to intentionally make changes and intentionally grow and heal, but also indeed it is creating healing, growth, and shifting on unseen levels, internal levels, and in all kinds of ways. And so if you are experiencing a life change, you are being called to increase and deepen your experience, to increase your awareness, meaning, and connection, and to expand. In the peeling back of the layers of the onion, you are deepening and you are expanding. And life change forces us to peel back layers of the onion, forces us to have different experiences that uncover new kinds of thoughts and feelings and things that need to be healed and that we need healing from, and ways in which we grow. So indeed, life changes surely are an indication that you are spiritually expanding and deepening your experience. Now, of course, these are also opportunities for intentional deepening and intentional development. So recognize that, honor that. If you are going through a life change, things are shaken up, and this is indeed a signal that you are spiritually expanding. Thank you, life changes. Now, number two sign that you are experiencing a time of spiritual growth, healing, and deepening is if you are experiencing mood changes. So maybe you are feeling out of sorts. You're feeling unlike yourself. You're feeling a range of emotions. And especially if these are things you are feeling without explanation. Because, of course, we can experience a range of emotions. And as a matter of fact, this is one of my top life change tips, to recognize that life changes do create a range of emotions. But we can experience a range of emotions even without any changes. And we can be feeling all kinds of things and asking ourselves, why am I suddenly feeling so angry? Why am I suddenly feeling tired all of the time? Why am I suddenly feeling sad? Why am I crying so much? And we can have all of these feelings that we're just like, why am I feeling this way? I don't get it. This is so unexpected. And it can even be where our feelings are almost like this, back and forth. You know, one day we feel great, the next day not so good. One day we're happy, the next day we're crying. Or even not just day, but moment. One moment we're feeling great. The next moment something triggers us and we're crying. And then the next moment we're laughing. And we're like, what is going on with me? I feel like a yo-yo with my feelings. I feel so back and forth. What is this all about? This indeed is a sign that you are spiritually growing. Now, why does this happen? Well, when we are experiencing these back and forth kinds of emotions, it's very much like a star that is about to supernova. So when a star is dying, when a big star is dying, when it is getting ready to, when it is shifting, the star is shifting, its energy is shifting, it is changing, and it is ready to morph into a new shape. What happens with that star is that it expands and contracts. It expands and contracts. Just like your emotions, happy, sad, crying, angry, back and forth. What's happening with the star is that it is about to explode in a supernova. So that back and forth signals that the star is ready to shift into a new shape. It is ready to grow. It is ready to develop. It is ready to move into its next stage of being. And so that back and forth with your emotions signals that you are ready to explode. Okay, maybe not explode. Don't worry. Christian is not saying that you're going to explode. I'm saying that you are ready to shift into your next phase, that you are ready to shift into a new way of being. So pay attention to that, honor that, recognize that. You are just like the star that is getting ready to supernova and explode and spread out into a new shape, a new way of being, its next phase of life. And by the way, that supernova indeed gives birth to other stars. So know that at this time, as you grow and expand and shift into your new phase, as you grow and expand spiritually, you indeed are going to sprout new things in your life as you shift and change and move into that new phase. So, with that range of emotions, you are just like a star getting ready to move into its next phase. So I want to encourage you to notice that, honor that, and recognize that shifting. There is nothing wrong with you. If you are feeling back and forth emotions, if you are feeling uncertain, unsure. Why am I crying? Why am I upset? Why am I happy? Why am I sad? That shifting is part of the spiritual growth and development process, part of the healing process. So know that, recognize that, honor that. Yes, indeed, I am shifting and moving into a new experience in my life. That's number 2. Number 3 is, the third sign, is if you find yourself interested in new topics or curious about new information. And so you may find yourself thinking, I'm curious about fill in the blank. I'm curious about crystals. I'm curious about past life regression. I'm curious about Reiki. This is a signal to ourselves that we are interested in making changes in our lives, that we are wanting to make change, and that we are ready to shift into some newness, that we are ready to deepen our experience and grow and expand. And so if you find yourself interested in various topics, new things, maybe you want to try on some new hobbies. Maybe you find yourself interested in things that you didn't expect you would be interested in before. Maybe it surprises you and you're saying, whoa, I never thought that I would be interested in fill in the blank. This is a signal to yourself that you are indeed growing, that you are indeed expanding, and that you are ready to do so, so that you are ready to move into a deeper level of experience. So I encourage you to recognize that and to follow those interests, even if they seem to come out of nowhere. Maybe even especially if they seem to come out of nowhere, to recognize that and to go with that. Now, here's the thing. When we're interested in new topics, especially ones that surprise us, there's oftentimes this push and pull, back and forth kind of experience with it. So oftentimes it will go like this. That Reiki thing. I've heard about Reiki. What's that all about? I'm curious about learning more. Let me learn a little bit about Reiki. And then we start to maybe learn a little bit, and then we're like, I don't know how I feel about this. I'm not so sure if this is for me. This is a little weird. I don't know. Maybe not the right thing. And we back up. And then we let it sit for a little bit, and we're like, oh, that Reiki thing, I don't know. Maybe I'm a little interested in learning more about it. So we learn a little bit more, and then we think, I'm not so sure. I don't think this is for me. Back up, hold up, wait a minute. This is weird. I don't know if this is it. I don't know what I think about this. It's very much like waves on the shore. You know, the wave comes up on the shore, hits the shore, and then it's almost like the wave is not sure that it wants to be on the shore. It's like, here I am on the shore. Whoa, wait a minute. I don't know if this is where I want to be. Get me back into the ocean. But you know, the shore, that was kind of interesting. Let me try this out again. Whoa, I'm on the shore. Whoa, I don't know how I feel about being on the shore. Back up. And so it's this back and forth kind of thing, just like waves. This is normal. Anytime we explore new areas of information, new hobbies, curiosities, topics, we're going to have those feelings of uncertainty. Is this for me? I don't know. I'm not so sure how I feel about this. Seems kind of cool, but also, is it right for me? Has me a little weirded out. That's normal. So that is a part of really the process of learning about anything new, because indeed it is new, which means that it's unfamiliar. So if you find yourself interested in new topics, number one, know that this is a sign that you are in a phase of growing and expanding and deepening your experience. And number two, don't be surprised if you have that back and forth, push and pull kind of feeling. That's completely normal. So if you find yourself saying, yes, I'm interested in this, no, maybe not, yes, this is great, heck no, not for me, run away, that's part of the process of learning about new things, about moving into new areas, of about trying on new experiences. So that's part of the process. Just know that, honor that, recognize that. And if you feel that feeling, it doesn't mean that it's wrong. So if you feel like, for instance, oh, I'm interested in Reiki, I explore a little bit of it, and then I'm like, I don't know that this really aligns with me and is right for me, it doesn't mean that you were wrong for exploring that area of interest. It doesn't mean it was bad. Indeed, it is a natural, normal part of growing and expanding. So just because you try out different things, explore different ideas, ways of being, topics, curiosities, it doesn't mean it's a wrong or bad thing to do. And you may very well decide that it's not for you, and that's okay. But that curiosity is a signal to you that yes, you are growing and expanding, developing, healing, deepening your experience. So recognize that, honor that, and also know that the back and forth uncertainties about it, that's part of the process too. Now, number 4. Yes, I'm going to give you 4. So yes, the workshop is 3 signs it's time, but that's a lot easier than saying 3 or more signs or 3 plus signs. 3, there are lots of signs, but I'm going to give you 4. I like 3, so I said 3, but I'm going to give you 4. So you're getting more than you bargained for. So number 4. A way that you know that you are currently spiritually expanding and upgrading, that you are deepening your experience, that you are growing, that you are healing, that it is time for a spiritual upgrade is if you feel stuck. If you feel stuck. So if you are feeling restless, if you are feeling stuck, if you are feeling like you are in a rut, you indeed are growing. You indeed are expanding. Now you might be thinking, Christian, how can you be growing and expanding when you feel like you are stuck? These things just don't match up. Growing and expanding and stuckness. Yes, it seems that way, but when we are growing and expanding, we are able to recognize the stuckness. And so if you were not growing and expanding, you wouldn't even recognize that you were feeling stuck or feeling restless or feeling like you want to move forward, feeling like you're in a rut. If you were not expanding and growing, indeed, you wouldn't be feeling discomfort with where you are, because that's really what it is, right? Feeling stuck, restless, or like you're in a rut is really a discomfort with where you are right now in your experience. And so if you were not feeling that discomfort, you would not be growing and expanding. You would not recognize that feeling of stuckness or desire to grow and expand, that feeling of restlessness. So if you're feeling restless, if you're feeling stuck, if you feel like you're in a rut, congratulations, you are actually growing. Now, here's why we feel this way. Here's what it means when you are feeling that restless kind of stuck feeling, there's this beautiful phrase in Irish, ec bora. And ec bora is a phrase that means, it translates to this idea that a seed, before it cracks open, shakes. Or before the bud blooms on the tree, it shakes. So before the springing forth of life, there is a shaking, a quivering. That restlessness, that quivering and shaking is ek bora. And it signals that bursting forth of life is about to happen. And so when you feel that restlessness, what it means is that you are shaking just like the seed that is about to crack open. You are quivering, you are getting ready to bust out just like that seed that shakes before it cracks open. So if you're feeling restless, if you're feeling stuck, indeed, it's because you are ready to break out of the seed. The seed no longer fits you. The seed is no longer suiting you. You are ready to release the seed. You are ready to crack open and grow. So when you feel that restlessness, when you feel those stuck feelings, indeed, it is a signal. Watch out, you are about to crack out of that seed. Congratulations. So those are 4 signs. Now there are more signs, but those are some really big ones. So what do you do when you experience those signs? By the way, you don't have to be experiencing all of those signs. You could just be going through one of those things, and it means that you are spiritually expanding. You may also be experiencing all 4 of those things. That happens too. And so it doesn't mean that one is better than the other, that one signifies more change than any of the others. It simply means that if you experience any of these things, you are in a process of growing, expanding, and deepening your spiritual experience. You are now being called to grow and heal, and you indeed are. So, what do we do if any of these resonate with us? Number 1, please recognize it. Please acknowledge it. Please see it and say yes to it. This is a normal occurrence. Any of these 4 signs that I just listed are normal and natural in our lives, and we experience them at multiple times in our lives. So, I told my story of massive spiritual shifting. That's not the only time I've had that in my life. It was a big one. It was a doozy, but it's not the only one. And so we are going to have these points at multiple times in our lives because that's the way life works. So recognize first and foremost that it is normal. This shifting, growing, and changing is indeed normal. And that's really the most important and first thing to do, to recognize that it is happening and to recognize that it is normal, to recognize that it is indicating shifting in your life on a very deep core level, and that you are being called to recognize that and to even direct that with intention, much like I did in my massive life change experience. So recognize the shifting, recognize the normalcy of it, recognize that it happens again and again and again in our lives. And if none of those signs resonate with you right now, at some point in the future, they certainly will. So that is normal. First thing to do. The second thing that I want to encourage you to do is to be gentle with yourself. So be understanding of yourself. Be understanding of the shifting of the feelings and emotions. Be understanding of that back and forth kind of push and pull. Be understanding of that idea that you might feel like a star that's about to explode. Be understanding that you might feel like the waves coming and going on the shore. Be understanding that you might feel like that little seed that's ready to pop open. Be gentle with yourself during any and all of the feelings that might arise. As a matter of fact, I want to encourage you to release judgment of them and to release judgment of yourself. So to acknowledge and recognize that the range of feelings is normal, the fact that you may be crying 1 minute and then laughing the next, that's part of this process. And to be kind, loving, compassionate, and gentle to yourself during these times. To release judgment of yourself for any feelings that you might be feeling. Because indeed, these are normal experiences at these times of spiritual shifting, growth, healing, and development. So all of your feelings are all okay. Please don't judge yourself for them. Please honor yourself. Please have compassion for yourself during these times of spiritual shifting and changing. That is very, very important. Now, how do you do that? Recognizing it, honoring it, and saying to yourself, Christian, I know that you're crying 1 minute and you're angry the next. I know you've got lots of big life changes happening. I know that you're feeling restless and stuck in a rut. It is all okay. Give yourself a hug, love yourself, hold your heart. Whatever you do to show kindness and compassion and understanding of yourself. This takes an infinite number of ways, shapes, and forms, but just saying to yourself, it's okay, self. I release judgment of you. It's all right for you to be feeling this way right now. It's not going to last forever, and it is okay. It's as simple as doing that. So please make sure to do that at these times. Now, tip number 3. I want to encourage you to ask for help. So often when we experience shifts in our lives, when the flower is blooming, the onion is being peeled away in its layers and it's making us cry, we have a tendency to say things like, I can handle this, I'm okay, I don't need any help. Or we don't want people to know. We don't want to be talking about it. We're afraid to share our experiences. I'm interested in these new topics, but I don't want to tell anybody. I don't want anybody to know. I'm afraid to talk about my feelings. I'm afraid people will laugh at me. I'm afraid I'll be judged. We have a real tendency to close ourselves off during those times of shifting. We're afraid of what other people might think. We're afraid of the judgment. And we think, I can do this all on my own. I don't need anybody else. This is natural and normal too, by the way. And I want to encourage you to indeed reach out for help. Help is all around us. So please do reach out for help, ask for help, talk to someone you trust. Now, when it comes to talking to our friends, family members, loved ones about our shifting, our spiritual experiences, the deepening of those, the unveiling of the layers, the cosmic revelation, it can be really challenging. And yes, we can be met with resistance. We might have loved ones who say things like, crystals, you're interested in rocks? What, you think that rocks can help you with certain things? You carry rocks in your pocket? That's crazy. That's possible to happen, where you share some of your interests and people are like, no thanks, no way, why are you doing that? That's weird. Judgment. But here's the thing. For everyone who doesn't like what you are doing, doesn't like what you are considering, is not interested in the ways in which you're considering growing and expanding, there are always people who agree with the things that you're interested in doing, considering, the ways in which you are interested in expanding. So for everyone you talk about your feelings to who says, why do you feel that way? That's not a good way to feel. That's silly. There are just as many people who are going to say, I understand what you are going through. Yes, I hear you. Yes, I validate you. Yes, it's okay. And yes, you're interested in this topic. Check it out. Go with it. Learn about it. Why not? So if you start sharing your experience and talking to people and they're shutting you down, saying, that's crazy, you're silly, it's okay. All you got to do is find someone else to talk to, because there are plenty of people out there who will listen, who will validate your feelings, who will understand. So I want to encourage you to talk with someone you trust. And sometimes someone you trust is not your family member, is not your friend. And that's okay, because there are plenty of people out there who will listen, who will have an open mind, and who will validate your experiences and feelings. So find those people, reach out. Seek out information on those areas of interest to you. Seek out helpful information. Explore your inklings and curiosities. Follow those. The worst thing that can happen is that you say, yeah, I'm not interested in this after all, and that's okay. And yes, you can have people who say, silly, no, not a good idea, stupid. And there are plenty of other people who will say just the opposite. So please, I encourage you to seek out people you trust, talk to people, and get help during this time. So I have a few more tips for you for this time of shifting. You know, I mentioned my 7-way path. One of the practices of the 7-way path is gratitude. I always encourage gratitude. So I'm a big proponent of gratitude, and I always encourage gratitude. So you may want to consider expressing gratitude at this time of shifting, even just gratitude for recognizing and acknowledging the shifting. Some other big practices from the 7-way path that I want to share with you that are especially important for these times. Number 1, cleaning and clearing. So clean your space, clear, get rid of things that no longer serve you, do some cleaning. These are all really helpful to signal shifting is happening, to signal that you are ready for change, and to welcome in new energy. So cleaning and clearing is always very helpful during these times of shifting. I recommend that. Something else that I'm going to recommend is to go for a walk. Walking is very helpful to integrate our experiences. Walking is very helpful for us to process our emotions. So I want to encourage walking, and I want to encourage that without distraction. So put away the phone, put away the music, and just go in terms of like a meditative kind of experience in which you can put one foot in front of the other and use that back and forth motion of silence and noticing, having awareness of your surroundings as an opportunity for processing the experiences that you're going through and processing your thoughts. So walking is helpful. Another big one that I really want to pass along to you is to conduct a ritual. It is always very helpful to conduct a ritual to signal that you are ready for a change, that change is indeed taking place, that you are shifting, growing, and expanding, and that you are doing so with intention. Ritual is always very helpful for shifting with intention and signaling shifts. They are powerful indicators to the brain that change is happening. So, conducting a ritual with intention and purpose is going to help signal that change is happening, and to do so with intention. So definitely I encourage a ritual during these times as well. Now finally, I want to encourage you to join the Encouraging Your Journey group. This is at facebook.com/groups/encouraging your journey. And in the Encouraging Your Journey group, you will find a supportive space where you can talk about these experiences, your feelings and emotions, where you can talk about the shifts that are happening and find some practical tips to help you through those shifts and to shift with intention. Now, as it just so happens, from time to time in the Encouraging Your Journey group, we go on a journey of the 7-way path, and we walk the 7-way path over the course of 7 weeks, each week being one of the transformative practices on the 7-way path. And so I want to encourage you, as it just so happens right very now, we are experiencing the 7-way path in the Encouraging Your Journey group. And so when I say right very well now, I mean March of 2022. If you are watching this at a different time, who knows? We may very well be walking the 7-way path at that time as well. So get in on that group either way. Facebook.com/groups/encouraging your journey. It is indeed an encouraging group that is focused on encouraging these life shifts, changes, spiritual growth, and development. So those are some tips. Those are some signs that you are indeed spiritually expanding, and some things that you can do about them. Of course, there are so many more, and these are just a few to help you at this time. Of course, as always, you are welcome to reach out to me directly. I'm at Christian@standingstoneshealing.com. I'm always happy to connect. You can also please feel free to send me a message on Facebook or even schedule a quick chat with me. You can find that link on my website at standingstoneshealing.com, where you can schedule some time just to talk about your own shift and change and growth experience. So to your own shifting, your own spiritual expansion, to your experience, I send you blessings and best wishes for your journey. Thank you and blessings.